You feel tired, not because you are failing, but because you are close. Close enough that the noise has faded, the excuses no longer work, and the old version of you can't follow where you're going. This is the moment most people misunderstand, walk away from, or numb themselves through. But if you know what to look for right now, you'll realize this discomfort is not a warning sign. It's proof that you are standing at the edge of something real. Most people believe that progress should feel loud. They expect movement to come with applause, visible wins, and constant reassurance that they are doing something right. But real progress rarely announces itself. In fact, when you are very close to a breakthrough, things often become strangely quiet. The excitement fades, the praise disappears. Even your motivation may feel muted. And this is exactly where many people make the mistake of turning back, because they assume that silence means failure. Think about how growth actually works in nature. When a tree is about to rise higher, it does not focus on the sky. It goes deeper into the ground. The strengthening happens where no one can see it. No sound, no recognition, no proof. Yet without this silent phase, the tree would collapse the moment strong winds arrive. In the same way, when your life becomes quieter, when external signs slow down, it may not mean that nothing is happening. It may mean that something important is being reinforced within you. At this stage, you may feel disconnected from the old excitement that once fueled you. The early enthusiasm is gone. The novelty has worn off. What remains is discipline, routine, and a sense of uncertainty. The mind does not like this phase because it cannot measure progress easily. There are no obvious milestones, no quick rewards. But this is where strength is built. This is where commitment replaces motivation, and commitment is far more reliable. Many people quit here because they are waiting to feel inspired again. They wait for energy, confidence, or certainty before moving forward. But the truth is, when you are close to real change, you are asked to move without emotional confirmation. You are asked to trust the process without needing proof. This is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. If growth always felt exciting, everyone would succeed. It is the quiet phase that filters those who are serious from those who are only curious. Notice how your distractions begin to lose their appeal during this time. The things that once entertained you no longer satisfy you in the same way. This can feel empty, even unsettling. But this emptiness is not a problem. It is space being created, space for clarity, space for direction, space for something more aligned to enter your life. Silence is not absence. Silence is preparation. You may also notice that fewer people understand you now. Conversations feel shallow. Old environments feel heavy. This is not arrogance, and it is not isolation. It is awareness shifting. When your inner world changes, your outer world takes time to catch up. During this delay, silence protects you. It keeps you focused. It keeps you from being pulled back into noise that no longer serves you. The greatest danger at this point is impatience. The desire to force results, to make something happen just to feel movement again. But forcing growth at this stage is like pulling a seed out of the soil to check if it is growing. You destroy the very thing you are trying to confirm. Instead, you must learn to stay grounded, to continue practice, to show up daily without drama, without expectation, without needing recognition. Understand this clearly. If everything feels quiet, if progress feels slow, if nothing seems to be changing on the surface, it does not mean you are lost. It may mean you are closer than you have ever been. So do not rush, do not doubt, stay steady, stay disciplined, and let the silence do its work. Because breakthroughs are born in moments like this. When you begin to move closer to what is true for you, resistance does not disappear. It intensifies. Many people misunderstand this. They think that the right path should feel smooth, easy, and free of struggle. But inner resistance is not a sign that you are going the wrong way. Very often, it is proof that you are going deeper than before. The mind resists, not because you are failing, but because something familiar is being challenged. Notice what happens when you decide to change for real. Suddenly, doubts appear that were never there before. You start questioning your ability, your timing, even your worth. Old habits call you back with surprising strength. Distractions become louder. Laziness feels heavier. This is not coincidence. The mind is designed to protect what it knows. Even if what it knows is limiting, it prefers the familiar pain over the unfamiliar growth. Resistance grows strongest when you approach the truth about yourself, not the version you show to others, but the version you hide from yourself. The truth requires responsibility. It asks you to stop blaming circumstances, people, or luck. And the ego does not like responsibility. It prefers excuses, because excuses allow comfort without change. So when you feel resistance rising, understand that you are touching something real. Many people retreat at this stage because they interpret discomfort as danger. They listen to the voice that says, "This is too hard," or "This isn't working," or "You were better before." But this voice is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as logic, fear of losing identity, fear of standing alone, fear of becoming someone you cannot recognize yet. Growth feels threatening because it removes the safety of the old self. Pay close attention to how resistance shows up in your daily life. It rarely appears as a clear obstacle. More often it shows up as procrastination, overthinking, or sudden exile. You may find endless reasons to delay what you know you must do, or you may distract yourself with productivity that avoids the real work. This is the mind's way of staying in control. If you are not aware, you will believe these excuses are rational. The purpose of resistance is not to stop you, it is to test you. It asks one simple question: are you willing to move forward without certainty? Most people want guarantees before they commit. They want to know the outcome before they take the step. But life does not work this way. The step comes first. Clarity follows action, not the other way around. When resistance appears, do not fight it emotionally. Fighting creates more tension. Instead, observe it. See it as a signal, not an enemy. The moment you can watch resistance without obeying it, you regain your power. You realize that discomfort does not control you. It is simply a sensation passing through you. There is also an important shift that happens here. You stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is a luxury of comfort. Growth requires movement even when you feel unprepared. This does not mean reckless action. It means disciplined action. Small, consistent steps taken despite internal noise. Remember this: if you were not close to something meaningful, resistance would not bother showing up. It only appears when something valuable is at stake. So when doubt grows loud and the urge to quit feels convincing, do not step back. Step inward. Stay with the discomfort. Breathe. Continue. Because the moment you learn to walk through resistance without turning away, you cross a line most people never do. And on the other side of that line, your life begins to change. As you move closer to real change, something subtle begins to happen. The patterns that once controlled you start to weaken. Not all at once, not dramatically but quietly. The habits, distractions and behaviors that used to pull you in no longer have the same grip. You still notice them, but they don't satisfy you like they used to. This moment often feels confusing, because people expect freedom to feel joyful, not uncomfortable. Yet discomfort here is a sign of progress. For a long time, those patterns gave you a sense of identity. You knew who you were because of them. Even if they were harmful, they were familiar. They filled time, numbed emotions, and gave structure to your days. When they begin to lose power, you are left with space. And space can feel unsettling if you have not learned how to sit with yourself. Many people rush to fill this space with new distractions, not realizing they are standing at the edge of transformation. This is the phase where the old version of you starts to dissolve, but the new one has not fully formed yet. You may feel restless, unmotivated, slightly lost, not because something is wrong, but because something is ending. Endings are rarely comfortable. The mind wants clarity and labels, but growth often happens in uncertainty. If you try to return to old habits now, they will feel empty. If you try to force new ones, they may feel unnatural. This in-between state is important. It teaches patience and self-awareness. You might notice that situations you once tolerated now drain you quickly. Conversations that once felt normal now feel shallow. Environments that once energized you now feel heavy. This is not judgment, it is sensitivity increasing. As awareness sharpens, you become less willing to trade your energy for things that do not align with you. This can feel lonely at times, but loneliness here is not isolation. It is alignment taking shape. Many people misinterpret this stage as failure. They say, "I don't feel like myself anymore," without realizing that the old self was built around coping, not truth. When old patterns lose their power, the mind tries to pull you back by creating nostalgia. It reminds you of comfort, routine, and familiarity. But notice carefully, it does not remind you of growth. Comfort and growth rarely live in the same place. Instead of trying to fix this discomfort, observe it. Ask yourself what these old patterns were protecting you from. Boredom, fear, responsibility. Once you see their purpose, you no longer need to fight them. They fall away naturally when their job is done. Letting go does not require force, it requires understanding. This stage also demands honesty. You can no longer pretend that you don't know better. Awareness removes the comfort of ignorance. Once you see a pattern clearly, continuing it becomes painful. This pain is not punishment, it is guidance. It steers you away from what no longer fits. What replaces old patterns is not immediately action or success. First comes stillness, then clarity, then direction. If you rush this process, you will build a new life on old foundations. Give yourself permission to pause, to feel uncertain, to not have all the answers yet. Trust this moment. If old habits no longer control you, even if you feel uncomfortable, it means you're standing at the doorway of a new identity. Do not rush back to what you have outgrown. Stay present, stay aware, and allow the old to fall away, because something stronger is already taken. Its place. As you continue forward, something important begins to change inside you. Your awareness sharpens, not in a dramatic or mystical way, but in a quiet, practical way that affects how you live each day. You start noticing your thoughts, instead of being carried away by them. Emotions still arise, but they no longer completely control your actions. There is a small pause now, a moment of space between what happens and how you respond. That space is not accidental, it is the result of inner training. Before this, the mind reacted automatically. A thought appeared, and you believed it. An emotion arose, and you acted from it. This is how most people live, without ever realizing there is another way. When awareness increases, you begin to see the patterns of your own mind. You recognize when fear is speaking. You notice when ego wants to defend itself. You catch yourself before repeating old reactions. This does not mean you never make mistakes. It means you recover faster and learn quicker. This growing awareness can feel uncomfortable at first. You start seeing things about yourself that you previously ignored. Impatience, attachment, the need to be right, the desire for approval. Awareness does not judge these traits, but it exposes them, and exposure removes excuses. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. This is why awareness often feels heavy in the beginning. It brings responsibility. You are no longer asleep. You may notice that situations that once triggered you now feel different. Not because they disappeared, but because your relationship to them has changed. You feel the emotion rise, but you don't immediately become it. You watch it, you breathe, you choose. This choice is where freedom begins. Freedom is not the absence of challenge, it is the ability to respond consciously. As awareness grows, patience naturally increases. You stop rushing to conclusions. You listen more. You speak less, but with more intention. Your energy becomes focused instead of scattered. This is not because life becomes easier, but because you become steadier. When the mind is no longer pulling you in every direction, clarity emerges. This stage also changes how you see others. You begin to notice that people are often acting from their own unconscious patterns. This understanding softens judgment. You stop taking everything personally, not because you are weak, but because you are aware. Awareness gives perspective. It reminds you that not everything requires a reaction. At the same time, you may feel slightly separate from the noise of the world. The constant opinions, comparisons, and emotional drama no longer pull you in as strongly. This can feel isolating, but it's actually grounding. You are not disconnected from life. You are connected to it more deeply, without being consumed by it. The key here is not to chase awareness or turn it into another achievement. Awareness grows through consistent presence, through paying attention to your breath, your posture, your words, your intentions. Small moments practiced daily shape the mind more than grand efforts done occasionally. You may not realize how far you have come because awareness is subtle. It does not announce itself. Others may notice before you do. They may say you seem calmer, more centered, more grounded. But even if no one notices, the real change is internal. You are no longer at war with your own mind. And when you reach this point, understand something important. Awareness always comes before transformation. It is the foundation. Without it, change is temporary. With it, change becomes inevitable. So continue to observe, continue to pause, continue to choose consciously, because the moment you become aware, your life can no longer remain the same. As your awareness deepens and your inner foundation becomes stronger, something else begins to shift, your relationship with approval. You start noticing that the need to be seen, praised, or understood by others slowly loses its urgency, not because you no longer care, but because you no longer depend on it. This is a quiet transition, and it often surprises people. One day you realize that you are making decisions without explaining yourself, without seeking permission, without waiting for someone else to validate your direction. At first, this can feel unsettling. External validation has been a guide for most of your life. From a young age, you were taught to measure your worth through feedback, grades, opinions, likes, recognition. When that feedback begins to matter less, the mind feels ungrounded. It asks, how do I know I'm doing the right thing? The answer changes. Instead of looking outward, you begin listening inward. Clarity replaces approval as your compass. During this phase, misunderstandings increase. People may question your choices. They may not recognize your growth because it does not look familiar to them. Some may even resist it. This is not because you are wrong, but because you are no longer playing a role they understand. When you stop seeking approval, you stop being predictable. And unpredictability makes others uncomfortable. Loneliness can appear here, but it is not the loneliness of rejection. It is the loneliness of self-trust developing. You are learning to stand by your own decisions, even when they are not applauded. This requires strength. It also requires humility, because self-trust does not mean arrogance. It means you are willing to be misunderstood without needing to defend yourself. As inner clarity grows, your words become fewer but more precise. You no longer feel the need to convince. You allow actions to speak. Silence becomes a tool rather than a weakness. You listen more than you talk. And when you do speak, it comes from intention, not insecurity. This is a sign of maturity. This stage also refines your values. When approval no longer drives you, you begin choosing alignment over comfort. You walk away from opportunities that look impressive but feel empty. You commit to paths that feel right, even if they offer no immediate reward. This is where integrity is formed. Integrity is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent with what you know to be true. You may notice that relationships change. Some deepen, some fall away. This is natural. When you change internally, your external world reorganizes. Do not resist this. Holding on to relationships that require you to shrink will only delay your growth. Real connection does not demand self-betrayal. The mind may try to pull you back by reminding you how good approval once felt. Praise can be intoxicating. But understand this clearly. Dependence on validation is a fragile foundation. The same voices that lift you up can turn against you. When your sense of worth comes from within, it is stable. It cannot be taken away. At this point, confidence becomes quiet. You no longer need to announce who you are becoming. You live it. You trust your direction without needing constant reassurance. This is not detachment from people. It is attachment to truth. And when inner clarity becomes stronger than external noise, you stop walking for applause and start walking with purpose. And that is when your path truly becomes your own. When you reach this final stage, the challenge is no longer about effort. You have already proven that you can work hard. You have shown discipline, consistency, and a willingness to face discomfort. Now the test changes. It becomes quieter, slower, and more subtle. It is the test of patience. Many people fail here not because they are weak, but because they are tired of waiting for visible results. At this point, it can feel as if everything has stalled. You are doing the right things, yet nothing seems to be happening. The mind becomes restless. It wants confirmation. It wants progress to look dramatic again. This is where impatience begins to whisper dangerous thoughts. It tells you to change direction, to rush, to force outcomes, or to abandon what you have been building just to feel movement again. But understand this clearly. The final stretch of growth often feels slower than the beginning. Early progress is fueled by excitement and novelty. Later progress requires trust. Trust in your practice, trust in your direction, trust in the unseen work taking place beneath the surface. Patience is not passive. It is active restraint. It is the discipline of not interfering with the process. This stage asks you to continue showing up without emotional reward, to maintain standards even when no one is watching, to stay committed when praise has disappeared. This is where character is formed. Anyone can perform when results are immediate. Few can remain steady when progress is invisible. You may notice a strong urge to overdo things, to add more, push harder, chase faster, but more effort is not always the answer. Sometimes the right action is to maintain balance, to refine rather than expand, to deepen rather than accelerate. Growth is not always about doing more. Sometimes it is about doing less, but with greater precision. Here, consistency matters more than intensity. Small actions done daily outweigh grand gestures done occasionally. Patience allows these small actions to compound. It gives them time to take root. When you rush, you disrupt this process. When you stay steady, you allow momentum to build naturally. The mind may label patience as weakness or delay, but patience is strength under control. It is confidence without urgency. It means you are no longer desperate for outcomes because your identity is no longer tied to results. You trust that what is meant to grow will grow at the right time. This is also the moment where many people sabotage themselves. They seek distractions, create unnecessary drama, or chase shortcuts, not because they want to fail, but because stillness feels uncomfortable. Stillness removes excuses. It leaves you alone with your commitment. And commitment without noise can feel heavy. Do not confuse stillness with stagnation. Stillness is alignment. It is the calm focus that allows everything to come together. Like an archer holding steady before releasing the arrow, patience gathers power. The release comes naturally, without force. If you can remain here, calm, disciplined, and present, you pass the final test. You no longer rush life. You move with it. You allow results to arrive when they are ready, not when your impatience demands them. Stay steady, stay grounded. Let time complete the work you have already begun, because patience is the final gate, and once you pass through it, nothing can stop what comes next.